So I've been buying a lot of books, but I thought it was about time I started talking about those books that I've been reading. Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk about some of the books that I have read recently. As I said, I've been hauling a lot of books recently because it was my birthday and there is another big book haul coming because I did split my birthday book haul into two separate parts. So I thought I'd better actually start reading some of these books because I've got a lot of books that need read. So in no particular order, I'm just going to start grabbing them. And the first one that I've got is this one. This is The Chain by Adrian McKinty, and I recently read this and I loved it. I've seen reviews that say that this is a book of two separate halves, and it really is. And I was worried that I wouldn't like that and I would find it quite jarring, because as you get halfway through the story, you reach a part where you enter part two, and the story sort of changes around a bit. So in the first part of the story, we are following a mum who's going about a daily business. However, she gets a phone call telling her that her daughter, who's 12 years old, has been taken. Her daughter was stood at the bus stop when someone has snatched her and taken her, and now she's being held hostage. But that's not all. What she finds out next is that her daughter has been taken as part of an organisation called The Chain. And what that entails is that the mum of this missing child now has to kidnap someone else's child to replace her child in the chain. As you would expect, there's also the typical hostage situation where she has to pay an amount of money up front too. She has to convert money into bitcoins on the dark web in order to pay for her daughter's safe release, as well as replacing her daughter with another child should she choose to do that. And so the first part, we go through the mother's struggle, deciding whether she's going to take another child or how else she's going to get her daughter back. This part of the story is very intense. We have the pressures that are piling up on the mother, building and building and building. I won't say what else is happening because obviously that would be a spoiler. But one thing that is stressed throughout the book is that it's not about the money, it's about the actual chain and keeping the chain going. But part two completely changes track, and we start to find out who is behind the chain and who masterminds this whole thing. And I found both parts equally as interesting as the other. I will say I was a bit concerned when we went into part two because I had been loving part one so much. I didn't really want to let go of having the mum at the forefront of the book. However, I really enjoyed the look at who is behind the chain and what is going on. And overall, I will say this is an extremely gripping thriller and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I got through is this one. This is Heist by Louise Candlish, and oh wow, this was amazing. This was recommended to me by one of my favourite subscribers and I picked it up. However, because I've been sent a lot of books to review, which I'm definitely not complaining about because I do love getting books to review, obviously, but I have had a lot of things to review. So I haven't gotten around to a lot of the books that I've bought myself. So this one ended up sitting on the shelf, just sort of teasing me now and then, wanting to be read. But finally I picked it up and wow, this just blew me away. This is a story unlike anyone that I've read before. And this follows Fiona. She's a married mum of two and she lives in a huge house in London. Their house is worth a lot of money and she's very pleased that they bought it when they did because they wouldn't be able to afford this house now. So one day when Fia's returning home, expecting everything to be as it usually is, she notices that she can see a house, and outside of a house is parked a removal van. So she begins to wonder if one of the neighbours is moving in or out, but as she approaches and gets a little bit closer, she notices that furniture is actually going into her house. And it appears that some people are moving into her house, which as she arrives at her front door, she finds out that is exactly what is happening. A family are moving into Fia's house. However, Fee didn't sell a house, Fee's house isn't on the market, and Fee doesn't have a clue who these people are. And what follows is a completely gripping tale of subterfuge and confusion, and I just absolutely loved it. This book kept me guessing right until the very last page, and I love it when a book does that. When you read a lot of different stories, you can generally start to figure out where the book might be going, which is exactly what I thought I had done in the early stages of this book. I thought I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it didn't, really didn't, and I love that. I love it when something surprises me, because it's not often I'm really hugely surprised anymore, but this surprised me. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want you to know what's happening, and I don't want to give away anything that might be happening within the book, because the gradual unwrapping of all the different layers of this story is what makes this story so brilliant. So I'm just going to say this was fantastic, and yeah, let me know if you've read it. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Uninvited by Stephen LaChance, and I put this up in my last video, I believe, where I was talking about the books that I was going to read for this autumn, and I did say I didn't have high hopes for this, and I was completely right. This no, this book started off well. I mean, there was a moment where I thought, actually, I'm going to enjoy this. And if you missed my last video, it's an apparent non-fiction about a family who lived in a very haunted house. And if you've seen any of my paranormal playlists or anything like that, you will know that there are some weird things happen in here. So I thought, oh, I'm going to read this and see if I can sort of connect with this person, see if we have similar experiences. And we did at the beginning. He started talking about it. He went into his house, and the first time he went out, he came back and all of the cupboard doors were open. And I thought, oh my God, it's like he's in my life. So I hurriedly carried on reading, and then it just, I mean, this just became so unbelievable. I don't know how. I mean, at one point there is an evil clown chasing them around. That's meant to be a ghost, an evil clown chasing them around this house. The writing style was extremely pompous. The story was extremely unbelievable. It was an absolute no. Bye-bye. The next book that I read was definitely a lot better, and that was this one. This is Foxes by M.A. Bennett. This is the third book in the Stag series, which, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know I adore the Stag series. This book was sent to me for review, and I'm just wow, absolute wow. I don't want to tell you too much about what happens in this book, because obviously with it being the third book in a series, I don't want to spoil what happens in the other two books, because this is a series that needs to be read and enjoyed. It's a YA thriller horror series, and if you're not normally a YA reader, do not be put off by that, because these books stand up alongside any adult book that I've got. I love the creepy vibes of it. The only difference is that we're following teenagers rather than following adults. So the original book, Stags, which I think is behind me actually, it's there, yeah. So Stags and, I've got them in the wrong order. Stags and Dogs there are the other two books in the series. And so if you're not familiar with them, Stags starts off where we have Greer, who has been sent to a very prestigious boarding school in the north of England, and she just does not fit in. There's a very prominent hierarchy within the school, and the very elite of the elite, they host a get-together every year where they only invite a select couple of people from the school to their soiree, if you will. But their soiree is held in a rolling country estate where they have a weekend of shooting, fishing and hunting. So when Greer receives this invite to this weekend, she decides that she will go because she really wants to just fit in and start getting on at Stags a bit better. But what she unravels there is absolutely spine-tingling, and it is fantastic. I loved Stags, as I've said so many times. Then I read Dog, which follows the sort of formula of Greer receiving mysterious correspondence, and she embarks upon a mission to solve the mystery of what she gets in dogs. And Foxes follow suit. Greer, once again, receives a mysterious invite to the family home of the boy from the first novel, Stags. And Greer is desperate to unravel just what is going on with this entire saga of mystery. And so she accepts. And with a select nearest and dearest that she's had with her for this entire adventure, she embarks upon another mystery to find out just what is going on. And when she speaks to this matriarch of the family, a startling revelation is made. And Greer finds that this revelation directly correlates with exactly what she thinks has been going on all along. But whilst she's trying to figure out if there's any truth to these claims, she also discovers that history might be about to repeat itself when she discovers that there is going to be a new Boxing Day hunt. This was amazing. M.A. Bennett is one of my favourite authors now. So let me know if you've read the Stag series, because I would love to know what you thought of it. So yeah, down below. Et finalement, the last book that I read is this one. This is Virginia Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. This is a ugly copy, isn't it? This is really, really ugly. But this is an old favourite of mine, and I read this as sort of a 13-year-old on the recommendation of my grandma of all people, and I became hooked on this Flowers in the Attic series. This is a family saga, and the reason that I'm reading this again is because I've joined a book club called the Sparklesbooks Club, which, if you follow me on my Bookstagram page, which is Sparklesbooks, do make sure you follow me. I've talked about this book club. that was coined by Hungry Bookworm that you can also find on Bookstagram. And we have been reading some of the old backlisted books, books that are no longer really talked about, books that are quite old and aren't just the new releases, which has been brilliant. Last time we read The Thornbirds, and now we're reading Flowers in the Attic, which is sort of one of my personal favourites. And I haven't read this book since I was much younger, and I will say that going back into it, it is brutal. I forgot just how awful this is. Really readable, but also terrible. This follows the story of 4 children who live in a very happy family. They've got a mum and a dad who adore them, but one day at the very beginning of the novel, the father is killed in a road accident, and the mother is now left reeling and wondering how she's going to look after these children on her own. The mother seems unable to be able to find work herself, and so she decides to go cap in hand back to her forbidden family who the children didn't know existed. The mum reveals very early on that she came from extreme wealth, and I'm talking millionaire wealth, and she takes the children back to her original family home. And the children discover that they have a whole hidden identity that they didn't know about, because the mum had changed all their last names, so they had no links to this family. However, it is revealed that the mum of the family did something that caused her to be disinherited from the family will, and she needs to get back into her father's good graces before she can tell him about the children that she's had. So the children agree for a week or two that they will live within the confines of the family attic and one room. However, things don't turn out exactly as planned, and that's all I'm going to say, apart from saying that there is a lot of trigger warning. There's child cruelty, there is sexual assault, there is just neglect. It's absolutely heart-wrenching. And when I read this when I was younger, I knew it was brutal, but it didn't affect me as much. But as I've got older, things like this affect me more, and I've found that this really upset me. So I'm really glad that I revisited this with the Backlist Book Club, and I think I'm going to go on and read the rest of the books. As I say, this is a very old, ugly vintage cover, and I have even more ugly vintage covers in here. Let's see. That's a different one, but they're all like this. I'll actually insert a clip of what the books look like so you can see just how very vintage they are. Here are my Virginia Andrews books, and I picked them all up secondhand when I was probably about 13, 14. And as you can see, they are very well thumbed, and I used to read them over and over again. That's actually a Catherine Cookson, obviously, that's not a Virginia Andrews, but I loved these books as I was growing up. But now that I've finished Flowers in the Attic, I'm going to start the next ones, which I think might be Petals on the Wind. Look at that. How vintage is that? So this one was my final read thus far, but be prepared to see some more book reviews coming soon because I'm ploughing through the books this month. So as usual, all books will be linked down below. So let me know what you're reading, and let me know if you've read any of the ones that I have read, or if you're going to. And I will speak to you all soon. Bye for now.